title of the talk is From Serendipity to Designing Molecular Gels for Drug Delivery. My sincere request to the biologists here, do not pay much attention to the biology that I am going to talk about, because this is only to show the application of the material that we are developing. I am not a biologist, so I cannot go into the deep of it. So before I start, I must acknowledge the contribution of my group members, all of my past PhD students, postdocs, and present PhD students and postdocs with various funding agencies, and two of my parent institutions, CSMCRI Bhavnagar and ISCS Kolkata. Now in my group, we are basically working in the area of crystal engineering, and using this concept, we are developing supramolecular gels for various applications. We are also equally active in the area of coordination polymer, and here also we have interest in various applications that also includes drug delivery, but today we will not talk about it. We will be mainly concentrating on this area of supramolecular gels. And we also do have some interest in the area of crystal habit modification. Now this slides clearly tells you that you just cannot live without gels. So I do not have to go into the detail of it. The picture tells you that without gel you just cannot simply survive. So it's a very important material. So if you look at a gel, it is basically a viscoelastic material. It contains a very small amount of solid and large amount of solvent. So it's a wonder how this much amount of solvent is actually being held by the network created by this small amount of solute, which is gelator. So first observation, that we call a gel if it is able to withstand its own weight against gravity. This is the first thing. Second thing is, you should run a rheological test to see that G prime and G double prime. G prime represents the elastic modulus, and G prime double prime is the viscous modulus. It should be more than G double prime. This is a primary test for a material to be qualified as a viscoelastic material or gel. If you look at the microscopic picture of the network, it is often shows one-dimensional network, and if you take the powder X-ray diffraction of the gel, you might see a nice order. What it tells you that whatever is there in this mysterious material, it is often crystalline and it has a definite structure. So if we are able to understand the structural details of it, then maybe we will be able to design this kind of material. So during that time, when we actually came across to this kind of material by an accident, I will come to that, Seiji Shinkai from Japan, he proposed how a gel is formed. Here it is given in a schematic manner. A molecule, if they are able to recognize each other by some non-covalent interaction, like say hydrogen bonding, then what happens, this molecule may self-assemble in this manner to give you a one-dimensional network. Since this interaction is in this direction and you do not have much interaction in that direction, so there is a probability of forming the fiber, which could be like this kind of thing, and if you grow it longer, then it will have a tendency to fold and intertwine and create a network, and the surface area of this network will be able to withstand the solvent molecule through surface tension. This is basically the understanding of gel. So having realized that, we were actually looking at the crystal structure of this particular small molecule. You can see that it's an organic salt made of a dicarboxylic acid and imidazole. Now when we look at the crystal structure, we find that primary network in the structure is one-dimensional. So we realize that salt material could be very useful compound which can be targeted as gel. So we used this supramolecular synthon concept, primarily developed by Professor Gautam Desiraju, which he has taken inspiration from covalent synthesis from E.J. Corey. People who are working in the area of covalent organic synthesis, they know what the synthon is. It is basically the fragment of the molecule from which you actually go to the target molecule. The same thing is applied in supramolecular chemistry, where your target is a crystal structure which is basically an assembly of the molecule, and it is held together by non-covalent interaction. So therefore, if you understand the non-covalent interaction very carefully, and apply it in a molecular level, then there you may have a predictable way to think about that this molecule will grow in this way. So with this background, we worked in the area of organic salt. Because of this various advantages, it is the easiest reaction you can perform. Purification is almost not there, yield is quantitative and high, so within a very short period of time you will be able to create a large number of laboratory, and therefore you can actually scan for gelling agents using organic salt. So with this exercise we have discovered 4 different organic salt based supramolecular synthon based on hydrogen bonding. The first one is SAM, we call it SAM, secondary ammonium monocarboxylate, where you can see it's a one-dimensional network. It can also have a zero-dimensional network. The others are one-dimensional, this is also one-dimensional, but this one is two-dimensional. It is a pad, it is called primary ammonium dicarboxylate. We find that in our experience that this is the primary synthon that is important for gelation. Now in this example you can see the SAM synthon where you have a secondary ammonium monocarboxylate. We observe that with a number of, I am not showing all the data, with a number of crystal structure you can see if it is a one-dimensional network it's a gelator, if it is zero-dimensional network it is not a gelator, it is actually never a gelator. We have not seen any example where a zero-dimensional network gave gel. We have also used the hydrophobic interaction to turn around from zero-dimensional to one-dimensional. In this example, this is a very simple organic salt, you can see it's the carboxylic acid, or what we have done, we have changed the number of N here, increasing the chain length, hoping that there will be a hydrophobic interaction because of the long chain packing. And you see that after the chain length increased up before 8 to 9, it is 14 and 15, you see that whole hydrogen bonded network transformed from zero-dimensional to one-dimensional. So it goes from here to here and it gives you gel. Similarly, we have used PAD synthon. PAD is a primary ammonium dicarboxylate network. It is a two-dimensional primary. So we thought that if we apply the same concept here, is it possible to fold this 2D network to 1D, to a cylindrical network? And we have achieved that. So what we have done, again systematically we varied the chain length. You can see that from two-dimensional network to it now gives you one-dimensional nanotubular network, which gives you gel, which is seen here in a scanning electron micrograph of the network. We have applied this concept to deal with an environmental hazard called oil spill. So what we have done here, we have applied SAM synthon and PAM synthon, and we can show that petrol can be gelled very easily using this small organic salt, and it can be gelled selectively from oil water mixture. So this is water which is not a gel, but this is a petrol. So you can easily scoop out the petrol from the oil water mixture. Same is shown here is from petrol, kerosene and diesel from two different supramolecular synthon. One is SAM and the another is PAM. Now problem in gel, you have to have some kind of a stimuli. Usually it is heating. Can we avoid this step? So in order to do so, what we have done, we have reacted acid and amine directly in the target solvent. For example, in this case, this is the acid which is a solid, and this is a petrol, this is our target solvent. We added the acid and then added few drops of the corresponding amine so that it can form the salt inside the solvent, and therefore the network is formed and immediately gel is formed. We have to apply a little bit of sound in ultrasonography. We have used this supramolecular synthon called SAD, secondary ammonium dicarboxylate, which gives you predictably one-dimensional network to design organometallic gelator. If you look at the literature, this is the organometallic gelator that is reported, and you can easily see that covalent organic synthesis is involved. Whereas in our case, we can simply make an organic salt using dicarboxylic acid and an amine, and this is the salt. If you look at the crystal structure, it is exactly the same the way we predicted, and it gives you gel as well. We have also created gel sculpture for the first time. This is a gel made from such a simple molecule. This is basically glycine, N-block glycinate, dicyclohexyl ammonia. The synthon applied is SAM here, and you can see this particular sculpture made by the author himself, the Pothik, who is my student. He was a artist also. He made this one. and it is still there in my office. It has been now more than 8 years and still exists. And only hydrogen bond and surface tension is responsible for holding such a beautiful, material. So our work also has impact in the international scenario. Crystal Engineering Communication, it's a flagship journal of Royal Society of Chemistry. They have come up with a themed issue based on simply on our work. And this themed issue is called Supramolecular Gels in Crystal Engineering. In the editorial, the editor writes, the link between crystal engineering and gels was in most likelihood was first clearly introduced through the work of Professor Dastidar and has blossomed into a means not only to predict gelation occasionally, but fully understand the structured landscape of the possible self-assembled material. So with this background, I will briefly talk about the drug delivery issue that we have been working in our group. So having done this, we realize that it is high time that we apply this concept to generate more useful material. So during that time, I got a project from DBT, and there our goal was to introduce various interdisciplinary way to develop drug delivery. Myself and 3 of my colleagues were involved in this. They had a satellite project. I also have a satellite project, and the main focus of this project was to use the material that we have made and understand what you have understood in terms of supramolecular synthon to generate this kind of material for drug delivery application. In conventional drug delivery application, all of us know that you have to load the drug within a vehicle, and then this drug loaded vehicle has to be delivered to the targeted site. But the problem associated with this kind of approach are the following. You have to load the drug, so you have to know how this drug should be loaded, and the capacity and efficiency of the vehicle should be taken into consideration. Biocompatibility of the vehicle is important, and then finally its degradability that you have to take into consideration. But you can ask me question, but there are so many drug delivery vehicles available, and most of the vehicles nowadays people are using, they are biocompatible, so why you are spending time on this? The answer to this is that we are just trying to look at in another way, another alternative possibility. Can we do drug delivery without having a vehicle? So that is the question. This is not the concept I have introduced in the literature. Professor Bing Zhu from Brandeis University, he is the main pioneer in this area to talk about drug delivery without a vehicle. It is called self-delivery approach. There are many ways to do it, but we will be confining to what we have done because of the time constraint. So what we thought, that if we can do something on the drug and convert this drug molecule to a gelator, now the drug molecule which is now converted will be a gelator, it can form a gel. And if it forms a gel with a solvent which is biocompatible, then you can directly apply this gel to the target site through 2 ways. One is topical way, the way we apply ointment. Various ointments are available, for example Volini gel, or we can, if this one is injectable, then you can simply use by subcutaneous route, so under the skin. So this, if it is injectable. So with this idea, what we have done, we have targeted one drug which is, we all know, it's a levocitrazine, it's an antihistamine drug. Many of us use this one. It has got a common side effect like sleepiness, headache, etc. if you take it orally. But if you can make a gel out of it, if you have a itching, you can simply apply and then you can get rid of this kind of side effects. So with this idea, what we have done, we applied this PAM synthon on this one, and then we created a library of salt using this cetirizine and various amines, and we found out that this particular salt gave a nice gel with methyl salicylate, and methyl salicylate is an anti-inflammatory solvent which is used in commercial preparation of various anti-inflammatory gel in the market. So what we have done, this is the characterization of the gel. You can see that this is methyl salicylate gel, very nice network in the transmission electron microscopy. This is the rheological test. It tells you that yes, it is a gel, it is a viscoelastic material. What we have done, we have checked the biocompatibility of this salt, and compared this with the original drug, that is cetirizine, in two cell lines. One is raw 264.7, another is C2 C12 cell lines, and we have found that it is the IC50 is around in the 200 to 400 micromolar concentration. We have used mice model, bulbsy mice model, to see whether our formulation can reduce the inflammation created by dinitrochlorobenzene, and this is called allergic ear redness test. You can see that when we applied our gelator salt on the ear, which was kind of allergy infested by the DNCB, you can see that it is very nicely cured. We went further. We created a allergic condition on the skin, dorsal skin. We did histological evaluation, that also tells you that it really nicely working compared to the control. You can see the hair follicle very nicely, and we have also done immunohistochemical evaluation, where you can see the kinds like IFN gamma and 5, they are downregulated and upregulated the way it should be under the allergic and non-allergic condition. So then we applied this concept in various non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, because most of the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, they have carboxylic acid. So you can simply form salt out of it, and we have created number of examples. I cannot go through it, just to show you that the concept can be used as a self-delivery system for delivering multi-drug, because you have an acid, so acid can be one drug, amine can be another drug, and combination of that will have two different drugs, and you can have a multi-drug composite like this one. And we have shown with this one, we have taken anti-inflammatory drug like NSAIDs, and we have used antiviral drug which is amantadine. Combination of that gives you, this is the crystal structure synthone. You can see that all the salts that we have shown here are actually gelator, and they give you nice PAM synthone. And this is the PGU2 assay, where it shows that it has got anti-inflammatory property. And this is some of the examples that we have created without salt. We created bioconjugates from the various drugs and applied that, and we did in vitro and in vivo studies to show that it has got anti-inflammatory property. So finally, the highlights of it, we learned from an accident that how the gel is formed. We studied literature and realized that it can be designed. So using supramolecular synthone concept, we created a number of gelators which are useful in various purposes, and the supramolecular synthone that we have found are 4, and out of that, this one is the most important, which is we call PAM synthone. It is a one-dimensional network. And then we created pest control. You use this for pest control. Heat set gel, we created gel sculpture. We have created test for nanostructure. Finally, we are very much active in the area of drug discovery in a topical fashion, and our work has impact in the international scenario that crystal engineering communication came up with a themed issue. And finally, I thank you very much for your kind attention.